Hey Don, how you doing? We got you. We got you. We got you here, close by. Yep.
No, we were trained by, we, just right over here, on Madison. Yeah, it's like, go down Park Avenue, it's like, and we overlooked that, we were like, okay, whatever, we'll still give you asking price. I don't have any defense. The radon was above EPA level. Well, it was, because if you, the meter that they used one more significant figure, you know, so it was like student spaces and decimal. And she said, well, it's 0 or 4.06, and I was like, yeah, but if you round it up to the significant figures, it would be 4.1, which is above the standard, you know? And if that's a weekly average, then how do you climb above that anyway? Yeah, after they would go down in price, I was like, have your leukemia, have your good luck.
Good evening. My name is Amy Mendoza. I'm the City Council person for Ward 1. I also co-chair City Council's Public Affairs Committee with Mike Schaefer, who's the City Council person for Ward 2. As co-chairs of the Public Affairs Committee, we thought it was important to host this town hall to go over the city issues that will be on the May ballot. We're not here to sway your decision one way or the other. We just want to make sure that you're fully informed when casting your votes at the polls in a few weeks. We're also hoping that by promoting this information, we'll receive a bigger voter turnout. Everyone's vote is so important, so thank you for being here this evening. Your attendance is truly appreciated. Thank you to Superintendent Andrew Spring and the staff at the Fostoria Junior Senior High School for making it possible for us to have this wonderful venue and equipment. A special thank you to Matt Swartchek and Andy Groman for their assistance in live streaming this town hall via their FETV YouTube channel and Facebook page, which will be available for further viewing there afterwards as well. We'll also make sure to post it under the council tab of the city's website for easy access viewing there. Thank you to Zach Stump and Scanner Media for posting the event as well. Mike and I will make sure to share it via our Facebook council pages, and if you could do the same, that would be wonderful. Again, the more people we can reach with this information and encourage to get out and vote, the better. If you think you know anyone who's not a registered voter, we do have voter registration forms here this evening, so feel free to take as many as you'd like. You can also register to vote online at ohio.gov. The deadline to register in order to be able to vote at the May ballot is April 4th. So the agenda for this evening is as follows. We will be addressing the 4 separate city issues, starting with the tax levy renewal and the 3 charter amendments that the Charter Review Commission recommended for the finance director, law director, and city manager. Please note that each of the charter amendments will be voted on individually, which is different than how it was proposed at the last election, where it was an all or nothing scenario. Finally, we will briefly answer any questions that you might have, but we will be hosting a more in-depth Q&A town hall a week prior to the election on Tuesday, April 26th at the Fostoria Municipal Building at 6 p.m. where we have our council meetings. So with all that being said, Mike is going to get us started off on the tax levy renewal information.
All right, thanks everybody. Once again, thank you very much for coming out tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the people online watching and for also participating through online and other means as well. So the first thing that we wanted to talk about tonight was the tax levy renewal that we have on the ballot here for May. So this is going to be a renewal of an existing levy. This is something that we've had, nothing really new. It's going to be a $6 million levy, real estate levy over 5 years. So what this does is it generates over $980,000 annually for the city. This is really going to be put towards public and safety services. And so we had this 5 years ago. It helped keep jobs in the city, different things like that in our community. And this is going to be a really good thing going forward for us from a levy perspective, just for the renewal. And it'll continue to allow the city to do projects and do different things in the community to help make better improvements going forward. So the next topic that we have.
Oh, the 2 charter amendments that are very similar in their proposed changes are the finance director and the law director. The proposed amendments would transition each position from an elected position to an appointed position, which would allow City Council to appoint qualified candidates who may live outside of Fostoria and directly hold them accountable. If we look at the side-by-side of the Director of Law as it is currently written in Article 5 of the City Chamber and as it would appear if the amendment were to be voted in, you'll see by the highlighted pieces that there are only 3 changes within the body between the 2. In Section A, the changes go from an elected position to an appointed position by council. It also adds wording so that not only would council appoint the Director of Law, they could also remove the person from the position. As it stands, this position is elected, and the person would only be removed if they resigned or lost to another candidate at a re-election. The only thing that changes in Section B is removing the words "of the city." This reflects, if passed, the position would be available for anyone, not just those who reside in Fostoria. The third and last difference is the addition of Section E, which simply states that council shall conduct an annual performance review within 30 days of the anniversary of the appointment of the Director of Law. Now, if we look at the side-by-side of the Director of Finance, you'll see that there are very similar changes. Right away, you can clearly see that the title would be changed from the City Auditor to the Director of Finance. And those changes would occur 6 times in the writing as highlighted in the proposed amendment. Section A has the changes to include the appointed position, council being able to remove the person if deemed necessary, and removing the words "of the city" so the appointed position could live outside of Fostoria. The only changes in Section B, besides replacing the words "city auditor" to "director of finance," would be omitting the words "the mayor or" to reflect "by council," and replacing the last words "by the mayor" to "by council." What the changes in Section B would mean is simply changing the applied duties from the mayor to the council. And finally, you can see there are no other changes except for the addition of Section C, which again just requires council to do an annual performance review. It should be noted that part of the Director of Finance amendment is repealing Section 503 of Article 5 of the City Charter, which would remove the city treasurer position altogether, and the Director of Finance would absorb its duties. And then just so that you know, the current articles can be found on the city's website under the Ordinances tab, and the proposed amendments can be found on the city's website under the Council tab in case you want to take a closer look at them there. So to recap, both the Director of Finance and the Director of Law have similar comparisons. Both would change from an elected position to an appointed position, which would hold them accountable to council. I think it's important to note that they already can be appointed if the position is vacant, but the accountability aspect isn't there. Qualifications would be required with the amendments. As it stands, anyone could run for the position and anyone could be elected without being qualified. Although applicants would still need to be a registered voter, they would no longer be required to reside in Fostoria. And this just opens up a wider range to find more qualified candidates. And finally, it should be noted that wages cannot be increased during the term of the elected position, but if passed, wages could be adjusted by council based on market changes at any point. And really, that's it. I think all the changes for the finance director and the law director are pretty simple and straightforward. I hope I have explained them well. And Mike's going to explain the city manager now.
All right, so for the fun part here. So the next piece that we're talking about is the city manager role. And so really what this is looking at, as we voted on it back in November as well, it's really looking at establishing a city manager role. It's really what we're aiming to do is transition the administrative duties of the safety service director and the administrative duties of the mayor into a new role called city manager. So what will then happen with the mayor's role is that the mayor will then serve on city council. They will become the president of city council. And this basically, what we were allowed to do then is very similar to the finance director and the law director. We're able to appoint qualified candidates. We're able to make sure that individuals have qualifications for these roles, the city manager role coming in. And that position, the city manager position, will actually be accountable to the elected officials in the city, which are our city council and our mayor. So if we go to the next slide, what is a city manager? So some of you might be asking, okay, what's the difference between a mayor, city manager, all this kind of stuff that is out there? So really, the city manager is your head administrator of a community. What they're looking to do is to oversee all the different departments that are in the community of a municipality within the city. They're going to be the person that brings recommendations for projects. They're going to be working on improvement initiatives within the community. They're going to be helping propose those types of things to council and to the mayor. If you kind of look at the kind of structure of things, it's very similar to how you would see kind of a school board setup. They have a superintendent that oversees the district and how things are laid out. They make all the improvements from that level, and then there's a board, which would be city council, to really help push those types of things forward. So most city managers come with experience like in public administration or managing a city, and so if a city manager form of government would be voted in, we would definitely make sure that they have those types of qualifications, education coming in. So looking at the comparisons here, so currently we're in a mayor form of government where the mayor is elected. Once again, the mayor will become the president of city council if this passes in May. the person running for mayor must be a registered voter. There's really no qualifications today for the person who is going to run for mayor. So they don't have to have city experience. They just have to be able to go to the Board of Elections, sign up, and run for mayor. And so that's something that, we try to keep in mind as we're thinking, hey, city manager that would be brought in would potentially have good qualifications and be a qualified person to help run a city. Today, the person running for mayor must reside in the Fostoria city limits. And then the position can be vacant or can be appointed if vacant. And because of the way things are stated in the charter, if it's an elected official today, we can't really increase any kind of wages for the mayor while they're in their term. If we look at the proposed here, the city manager is an appointed position by city council. They must be a registered voter. They also, I mentioned several times now, they have to have qualifications that will be deemed, which will be identified by city council. But there won't be any residency requirement. And the reason for this is it would give city council and the people looking for a city manager the opportunity to have a wider net to bring in professionals into our community. So we could look at different surrounding communities like Fremont, Tiffin, outside of the city limits. If there's someone today who lives like in Fleckner Heights who might be qualified, we can't even have them be our mayor because they're not within the city limits. So those are just some of the things that we are trying to help make our net wider so that we can have more people to choose from a candidate perspective. We can also adjust wages if we need to, and we'll have a little bit, because as an appointed position, be able to negotiate a little bit more for someone who, based on their experience from a city manager perspective. And once again, the mayor will still be an elected position. That position will still exist. It'll be elected, and they'll be the president of city council. So today, this is our current state. I put this together recently, but this is the current state of our org chart from a city government perspective. At the top, you have the city of Fostoria, which is equivalent to our electors. Then the second row there, where we have city council, mayor, finance director, and law, those are all of our elected officials today. Okay. If you then look at the mayor, we have our safety service director, our city administrative assistant, and under the safety service director, we then have all of the different departments that are managed within our city. So all the departments go up through our safety service director and then up through the mayor. When we look at the proposed state, so if all these issues on the ballot would pass in May, this is the new form of structure that we'll be looking at. We still have our city of Fostoria electors at the top. Our elected officials would then be city council and mayor, but then we would have appointed positions of the city administrative assistant, the new city manager role, the finance director, and the law director. And so those positions would then be accountable to city council and the mayor, so then you see that the city manager would then assume a lot of the duties of the safety service director, where they would then manage all the departments below there. So they'll also they most likely will take administrative duties from the mayor as well, which would include things like some of the economic development initiatives, beautification, those types of things that the mayor does today. The city manager will also take some of those and handle those different duties that they have out there. So that really concludes the primary part of the presentation here. So I just wanted to share some important dates that are going to be coming up. On April 26th, we're going to have another town hall. We're going to have question and answer here tonight. However, if you have questions that you think of along the way, you can come back April 26th at the municipal building and be able to ask any questions that you might have around this topic. Also, a reminder that on May 3rd is Election Day, so that's when we'll be voting on these different issues. Just a point of note, in the last year's May election, only 4% of registered voters in Fostoria voted. So it's really, really important for folks to get the word out and to make sure that they vote on these issues, because this will change kind of the trajectory, and it's kind of defining the future for our city and how it'll be managed going forward. So very important to get out and vote and share your opinion on this at the polls. So now it's time for question and answer. So if you have any questions, we have a podium in the back. Feel free to get up and ask your question. We'll be up here to answer any questions you have. Go ahead. Yeah, because then they can hear you online. Yep.
I would like to know if there is another city nearby that you're emulating to create this city manager position and have this new role that's going to be aligned for the city, and how that's going to, if you're looking at another city to create this and how that works for somebody else.
It was recommended to us by the Charter Review Commission, but I know Clyde has a similar city management form of government currently, but the Charter Review Commission recommended it to us.
Okay.
Mr. Manel will answer a little bit too.
My name is Don Manel. I served on the City Charter Commission, and I'm also Third Ward Councilman. Charter form of government has been around for over 100 years. It is not new. One of the earliest cities to adapt city manager form of government was the city of Dayton, and it has been running under city manager form of government for over 100 years. There are a lot of cities around the state of Ohio. The majority of them are around the Columbus suburbs and Dayton-Cincinnati area that are city manager form of government. City manager form of government is the more rapidly growing form of government in the country. It is taking over for mayor, strong mayor form of government over and over. Can you flip back to the slide that had the reporting? If you look at our current, no, that one right there. If you look at our, that's our current form.
Okay.
If you look at our current form of government, neither the mayor nor the safety service director have to report their agenda to city council. The mayor hires the city manager, and the city manager and the mayor can have their own agenda regardless of what council's agenda is. Pardon? Safety service director. I'm sorry. Safety service director and mayor can have their own agenda, and it doesn't matter what city council's form of government is or what their desires are. So people of Fostoria appear to want more transparency in their government, and they get more transparency when they go to a city manager form of government than they currently have under a strong mayor form of government. The other objection that I often hear is we don't want a mayor from out of town. Okay, let's look at the city of Fostoria. Your police chief currently lives out of town. Your economic development director currently lives out of town. The head of the Chamber of Commerce currently lives out of town. Your safety service director currently lives out of town. The last safety service director lived out of town. What's the objection to hiring the best city manager that we can find to administer our city? Are we just totally afraid of change? Change can be good.
Thank you, Don. Did you have a question as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that at this point, it appears, you're saying here, on the second item, that
Would you be able to go to the mic? I'm sorry. Thank you.
It's stated on the second point here that neither the finance director nor the law director has any qualifications required. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is it also true, is it,
The law director must be
Right,
a licensed lawyer.
right. The law director must be a licensed lawyer.
must be a
Yes.
lawyer? Okay.
A registered voter.
Okay, but with regard to the finance director then, and what about the safety director? Was there any qualifications specific?
That's an appointed position by the mayor today. So, I mean, it could be anyone that the mayor deems appropriate for that position.
So if, potentially something happened and the safety manager did something, grossly wrong or whatever, then he would be accountable only to the mayor who appointed him, is that correct?
Well, I mean, the mayor, yes, today, yes.
Okay. But if you have the city manager position, he's going to be accountable to the entire city council, is that
Correct.
also correct?
City council and the mayor, yes.
Okay, and he gets some kind of yearly review of,
Right, yep. So on the proposed ballot that we have up here, we're going to require a review, an annual review of the city manager. I believe we also added that in for the finance director and the law director as well, just to make sure everything is going well and that city council and the mayor are doing that on an annual basis.
okay. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to, I like that.
Yeah.
I think that person should be accountable, and I think they should have multiple qualifications for the job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Got another question coming here.
Good evening. My name's Jill Affiliator. I have just a quick clarifying question that
Sure.
has been asked by me as I'm a business owner in town, and I am supportive of the concept. But the question that's been posed to me is, I understand expanding out to get the best talent. A lot of people are asking why we're making it boundary limitless. Why are we not looking at a 30-minute radius, a 45-minute radius, so that they're more close? Because you could technically bring somebody in from Columbus that has the wonderful qualifications, but they feel that they're losing that feeling of being in the best interest of the local people,
Yeah.
and not just looking at how are we going to make Fostoria grow and not participate with the local people. That's their
Sure.
biggest concern that I'm getting right now. I don't have an answer to give them other than I did the same thing, looking at how many people are qualified and bringing the best in, and still maintain that feeling. And their response back is, why are we not looking at keeping a distance? So like the fire department people have, well, I don't know if it is anymore. Back in the day when I first lived here, you had to be within a 30-minute drive to be part of the fire department, part of the police department. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah.
But that was the question that they're asking, which I can't give an answer to, which I wish I could. So I'm bringing it back to you guys. How do we explain this to people so that they can get that buy-in and say, that makes sense? I think the idea of having more people that have accountability, that are held responsible, is a wonderful thing.
Personally, I think council would take all of those things into consideration when choosing the candidate. So you have to rely on your city council to consider distance and everything to make the best. It's just like any other job interview where you have to rely on your instincts and everything that's presented to you to make the best decision for the person that you want to fulfill that position.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that too, and I'll say that one of the things that I'm supportive of is if this were to pass and we get to that next level, is the idea of, hey, can we bring them to live in Fostoria if they be willing to do that, and so looking into those kinds of things so they are a part of that community. That's my personal opinion, but I'd be supportive of doing something like that if they're coming from Columbus or if they're coming from Toledo or something like that. So.
Just $4 gas will help keep them closer.
the comment was $4 gas will help keep them closer. So sure should.
They'll want to relocate and not pay the gas money.
Any other questions?
Hi, Garrett Jones. I understand that a lot of the people that held these important positions in the past and currently live out of town, and by removing that requirement would widen the net and hopefully bring more talent in. However, how would this, and I also want to tie this into the low voter turnout. The more people we can get to vote, the better we are as a community. And how would this change, A, bring more people to participate in the community? And don't we want to have people live in Fostoria? You know, there's too many business owners that reside in Findlay or live elsewhere, or people that work elsewhere. I think in order to grow our community, don't we need some kind of requirement that says, hey, this is us?
Yeah,
Thank you.
no doubt. We definitely want people to live in our community, be a part of it, and be a part of that, of the leadership team for the city who lives in our community. I mean, that is one of the most, I think that could be one of the most important things, you know, to helping build that trust, you know, with our community members. I agree. Just the facts are, though, that over the past several years, we've had to appoint people for all these positions. There's a lot of positions in our local government. Councilperson Mendoza, myself, several people have been appointed to their roles as well. And so today we typically don't have people stepping up in our community in Fostoria to actually run for that. And I'm not sure the reason why. Maybe they don't feel a part of that, or they don't want to be a part of the, you know, the city government or whatnot. But I think it's something that, you know, we've tried for years. I know that there's been a lot of work towards getting people in our community, and now we're looking at what are our options to look to the next phase, and that might be looking outside of our community a little bit more. Yeah, Stephanie has a comment.
I just want to clarify, as far as the residency changes, the only things that are proposed to change as far as residency are for law director and director of finance. The mayor will still need to be a resident of Fostoria. The safety service director currently does not have any residency requirement, as does the proposed city manager. So it's only changing the residency requirement, proposed change for the residency requirement for law director and director of finance. Those are the only changes.
Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions? Yeah.
It hasn't been stated exactly, but under the proposed changes, the city manager and the finance director reporting to city council, the first thing city council would have to do is write a job description. And that job description would have the requirements. In other words, if you're going to have a finance director, you might want to have a requirement that they have a college degree in accounting or finance or business administration, or that they have so many years of experience in managing an accounting department or something along that line. And a city manager, you might want to have a requirement that they have a college education in the area of city administration, public administration. Every state university in the state of Ohio offers a degree program in public administration. Now let me give you an example. I sit on the board of trustees of the Geary Family YMCA. The Geary Family YMCA has a $1 million budget and 0 debt. They're a part of the YMCA of the USA. The YMCA of the USA requires that the director of the Geary Family YMCA have a college degree and that they take a course in YMCA administration through the YMCA of the USA in order to be qualified. Now, let's jump to the city of Fostoria. Anybody know what our budget is? Anybody want to guess? Round numbers? How much? Anybody else want to guess?
4 million.
4 million?
4 million.
Our city budget is over $28 million. Okay? Can anybody tell me how much debt the city of Fostoria has? Anybody want to guess? $21 million. Do you think we need an educated and qualified finance director? And city manager? Cities are incorporated, and they are a corporation very much like a public corporation or a private corporation. You need good leadership. We're very fortunate that we currently have good leadership, but that's no guarantee for the future. Anybody who wants to run for mayor can run for mayor as long as they're a registered elector and a resident of the city of Fostoria. And the same thing is true for finance director.
Thank you, Don. Kimmy?
Expanding the parameters for our candidates is important. And you can, if you stay within the parameters of a tiny pool, even the best qualified person in that pool can still be pretty poorly qualified. If we're going to stick to the idea that competition increases our odds of having quality products and quality performance, then we need to widen the pool so that there are more opportunities for people to compete. If I said, okay, me and this table right here, who's the most qualified snow skier? Just this me and this little table right here. It's pretty likely that it's gonna be me, but I guarantee you I'm not much of a skier. I'm a almost competent intermediate skier. But if we open it up to the whole room, or even better, to the whole town, I am pretty certain that we'd find someone who is a heck of a lot better snow skier than me. And that's what this comes down to. The wider the pool, the bigger your odds of getting somebody who's really qualified.
Thank you.
Bob Hodak. She didn't get me on the skiing either. A couple things. One is that people say that we're losing maybe a branch of government by the election of not being able to, quote unquote, elect these people. But at the same time, it's been brought up, and I totally agree, we could very well get some highly unqualified people trying to do positions managing a $28 million budget that has no clue. And we've been lucky for years and years. But we also were unlucky to the point that we were under the auspices of the treasurer of the state of Ohio for what, the last 4 years? 5 years. And we're just getting our way out of that. So we don't really need that again. And I'm not pointing fingers or blaming anybody, but at the same time, city council is how many people?
7.
7 people that are going to do the research. They're going to hire the person that's going to run the city. That person is accountable to them, and the city council members are accountable to us, the citizens of Fostoria. And if you don't think your councilman's doing a good job, you can run, you can tell them what you think. You can have a meeting with them. Maybe you can come to an agreement that their opinion's wrong, or show them that it's wrong, and then they can go back, and you've got 7 people cheering for the city, hiring one person who's highly qualified, whereas right now, we're at the luck of the draw. We've been fairly lucky, but this is 2022. This has got nothing to do with luck anymore. We have to do something that's going to take us from point A today to point B, wherever and how many years that is. If you were at the FEDC and the Chamber of Commerce meeting last week, there's a lot of things going on in the city that they're pushing and promoting. But at the same time, we don't have, looking down the road, probably the right form of government in place to help them to promote the city. And least we not forget that we're in the 3 counties in this city. So what's wrong with extending it clear out to, you know, it's a wide net. We can extend it to all 3 counties. Sandusky County is only 5 miles away. Wyandotte County is not that far to our south. So we're already battling 3 counties for a lot of things that we do, and we do need to vote. I think it's a wonderful form of opportunity for us as citizens to have our council people hire the best person involved. We're still going to have a mayor. He's still going to be there, and he's going to be the president of the council. So he's going to conduct the meetings and have a lot of other things that they're going to be able to do. So I was pretty skeptical. I was at the meetings before the last election, and to think that 3% of the people, registered voters, voted is pretty sad. So we got to get the vote out, and we got to get it out, and people have to understand that we're just trying to make this better. We're not really trying to take anything away from anyone. We're trying to make people accountable. If you have a job and you went to work today, you were accountable for what your job was. As it is right now, the mayor hires the city manager, and there's actually no accountability there. You'd have a heck of a time getting rid of them.
The safety service director. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Safety service, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other questions about the topics we talked about tonight? Oh, got someone coming up.
Mine's more of a comment. I have known some former classmates of mine and friends who did go to school and college and did go for their public administration and decades ago. Mm-hmm. And where they went, these places thrived. Businesses were able to work with one person in a line, as this shows here. It doesn't hurt, like you said, for us to work with people who originally didn't live in our community when you hired them. But quite often, if this person is excited about his job or her job, they end up bringing themselves into the community because they are so excited and thrilled about the changes. And this is what we need. We are looking at helping our community grow. You wouldn't be here as my councilman if you didn't want our community to grow. I had a friend who told me they used to be on council, and before they would go to their council meeting, somebody said, "This is your meeting to go save Fostoria today." And I appreciate that they had that in their heart, that they want, and we have to do this ourselves as voters and as citizens within the community. Talk to people, if you don't want to see this happen, that's fine. Bring your concerns to Amy or Mike or Greg or Don or Ed Loxton, or talk to the different people who work in the city within the different departments. I think it has been totally wrong over the years from what I have seen of some of our safety service directors that we have had, who basically bullied their way around within the departments and possibly within the community. So this can't happen anymore if they are now going to be appointed by our council and mayor. And the city manager, as I have learned, is 99% the most important person with your city government in running everything to keep things running well and to have your community grow. Is that correct? From what you've seen also?
Yeah, I mean, it takes us all,
From
a government, yeah, but they will be driving a lot of the departments and everything, so they are going to be at the pinnacle, the key piece for a lot of the things, the way processes and procedures and things are working in our city, yes.
Right.
And they'll be coming here with the education and the know-how and the experience.
And that's what I said, the education. And we are losing people with good education in our community every year. And so this might help draw some of this back. And I would like to see us grow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cassidy?
Before I came down here tonight, I promised my wife I'd just keep my mouth shut. Can't do it. I'm Greg Cassidy. I am here as a private citizen. I am a councilman at large, but anything I say and refer to is done as a private citizen of this wonderful community. I'm going to start out very quickly and tell a very sad story about a community. Many years ago, prior to the turn of the century, there was a community that was starting to really thrive. It was growing. It had an academy, a college. That college was devastated by a fire. Just about everything burnt down. The city fathers elected not to rebuild or assist in the rebuilding process of that academy. Afraid of maybe new people coming into the community, somebody gaining more power, maybe they felt threatened, maybe they were ignorant and short-sighted, I don't know. But this community lost out to a community about 25 miles away that is thriving today, continuing to grow. Now, the community that is thriving today is Bowling Green. Pretty nice town, isn't it? Pretty good economy over there. They have a good university. Yeah, we could have had that here in Fostoria, except we had people after the fire of the Fostoria Academy, they elected they didn't want to rebuild a college here. And I think that was the starting point of the clouds that have hung over this community for years. There was a group of people so short-sighted, lack of vision, they've really put us through a lot of agony here. But you know the great thing about it, there's a resilience in this community that nobody can take away from us. This is one of the best communities you're going to find anywhere in this country. You're not going to find a community where people care more about each other and are willing to give. If somebody has a problem in this community, they got a sick child and they need to take up a collection to help finance surgeries or whatever, we've all seen it. people step up to the plate and give in this community. People really don't have much to give, but they give. They give what they can. I'm talking as a private citizen, but I'm going to tell you something. From a councilman's perspective, looking at it as a private citizen, there's a lot of incentive for me to go to council meetings when there's only about 3 or 4% of the people care enough about this town to vote. I think it's pathetic. And I mention that because I applaud all you that are here that cared enough about this community to show up tonight, as well as the people that are home watching TV. The issues that we talked about tonight are critical, absolutely critical that they be passed at this election so that we can take Fostoria on in the future. We've fumbled around since the time of the Fostoria Academy fire, and it's time to reverse this whole process. Neighboring communities have kicked Fostoria around for years, kind of looking at Fostoria as a kick the cat around, and you know what communities they are. Between economic development, the revitalization of downtown, there's a lot of people who are going to wake up someday and realize the fact that they can't kick that cat around anymore because it's a roaring lion. We're headed that way if we do the right things. Before I was ever involved in government, I've been involved in business all my life and have been very frustrated the way government operates. Not just at a local level, but the way government operates, period. And I've made the comment time and time again, it's a shame that government doesn't run like a business. This is our opportunity to take Fostoria to the next level by reshaping the way we manage this city, run it like a business. Have a city manager, it's the CEO. He runs the corporation. He's accountable to the board of directors, and that's your council members. And that puts a lot more pressure and a lot more authority on the people you elect to fill a council vacancy. And the council people, they answer to the stockholders, and that's every one of you, every taxpayer in this community. We're all stakeholders at one level or another. We can take Fostoria to great new things if we can just get a little better organized. And I've taken enough of your time. I can see some of you are starting to fall asleep. So take to heart what I said about voter turnout, the importance of helping this community do the right thing. And thank you for your time. And don't tell my wife I ran my mouth tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Cassidy. Any other comments or questions for the good of the group? Mr. Jones?
Thanks again for the presentation, and thanks everybody for showing up, Mr. Podak, Mr. Brunel, and everyone here. I appreciate it. I'm still kind of on the fence about this, honestly. I understand the improvements that we want to make by having certain requirements for certain positions and doing away with certain requirements such as the residency requirement. Isn't it possible to do those things without actually changing our form of government is one question I have. And if we want more people to vote, I don't know. I don't know how to get more people to vote. But to me, I'm still hesitant to be a proponent of this change. Like I said, there should be certain ways that we can make improvements without giving so much power to a city manager, which I just think that, I don't know, I'm just hesitant. I like change. How much power does the mayor have today? Well, I'm not qualified to answer that question. He has more than the city Okay?
I think the power would shift to council because council would hold those positions accountable.
Okay.
We would have the ability to remove anybody from the position if they weren't doing
Yeah.
what was best for our town and finding a replacement.
A lot more work for the city council. So I'll have to do a little bit more thinking before I support one way or the other. We just need to get more people to come to the town and stop residing outside of the town. I had one more thought, but it just escaped me for a minute. Once again, thanks again for the time and the effort, and well, good luck. We'll see what happens in May.
Certainly. And, like you said, it takes, us to influence folks who maybe aren't here or aren't, watching this video online or anything like that to just encourage them to vote. It takes us to say, hey, we have this information now. We're empowered to go out and say, hey, did you know only 4% last May voted and so we have 7,500 registered voters in Fostoria. I mean, we're talking less than 500 people voted. And so, I mean, it's something that we need to look at going forward. And to really try to promote and everything. And, I just want to say thank you once again for everyone coming out. It's been really good.
Yes,
Amy, do you have any
thank
comments?
for your involvement. And if you think of your question later, always reach out to any one of us or write it down and come to the Q&A session. That's going to be a week before the election, so we can go over it again. But yeah, I agree. The more people we can reach with this information and encourage to vote, the more votes that we get, the more confident that I'll be that the right decisions are being made for our town.
I don't want to have to go to the podium, but just need to confirm, the election, because we know there's the issue with, remember I discussed this before, right now there's still going to be a local election, right? They're not going to try to postpone it, when they're postponing what's going on with the Senate kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the question was, so the question was with Ohio redistricting that's happening, are we still going to be having an election in May? So at this point, nothing's 100% certain. There's been discussions, I've talked to other people not at the city, but there could be a possibility of a local election potentially. So there are some things that we are still need to be worked out from a detail perspective, but at this point we're still sticking with that May 3rd date until something changes. So
Thank you.
all right, well, thank you everybody. We appreciate you coming out, and we look forward to, if you have any questions, please come to us, and once again we'll be having another session April 26th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Am I permitted to say something, sir?
Sure. Is it relating to the?
Yes. I believe that our town is in desperate need of more transparency and accountability for some of the departments in town. Quite frankly, I feel like I'm breaking the law talking to everybody right now because I feel that my rights have been violated. I was recently trespassed from the city building, and I did not commit a crime. I did not cause a scene. I did nothing wrong. It also took me 3.5 minutes to gain entry to the city building. The Captain Brooks kept
Sir,
repeatedly,
this is not relating to the city manager position.
I feel that
I'm going to
this is
ask
a good
you.
decision.
Can we talk about this after? And we'll definitely talk about this after. Thank you. But thank you everybody for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Have a good night. Thanks.